How are you? This is Federico. I am president at the Coopérative Kleros. Unfortunately, I will not make it in person to the demo day, well, in person in live, because well, American Airlines rescheduled my flight, and I'm going to be flying exactly at the moment of the demo day. Hey, American Airlines, good job. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to give an introduction to well, the incubator, so at least you can have some context. So the goal of Kleros is to become a DAO court for all of the DAOs that are popping into the Web3 ecosystem, and we want different platforms to connect to Kleros to resolve disputes in all kinds of use cases: social media, e-commerce, finance, insurance, etc. And we have been doing lots of work in order to expand our ecosystem and to have more projects and protocols connected to Kleros. So in this vein, with this goal in mind, we asked ourselves a question of how can we keep supporting the growth of this ecosystem, especially supporting new projects that are growing and that are starting. And that's how we launched in 2021 in July the Kleros Incubator with the goal of supporting teams that are building on top of the Kleros protocol. So the incubator is a program where people, first they make an application, then they go through an interview, and the teams that are accepted, they get financing from the cooperative for 50K. And this, is meant to cover the first spendings of the project, and to at least get the team working full time and start working on planning everything and the growth. And also it includes 3 months in Lisbon with housing, travel, and office space, and these expenses cover for the team to start the project. Of course, as you know, Lisbon is a very beautiful city where to spend some time building a new Web3 project, and especially the blog is an amazing place to network with the fellow Web3 entrepreneurs and to network with other projects. So this is the best place where a Web3 project can start and grow. And during the 3 months of the incubator, teams get a bunch of workshops that cover different areas, different things that we learned at Kleros through building Kleros, in strategy design, how to do interviews with users, how to do community building, how to do UX, UI design, mechanism design, smart contract development, how to prevent against economic attacks, and a bunch of other stuff that are necessary for building a project. And that at Kleros we learned the hard way through making mistakes. So we want to share with the teams our learnings, so they don't do the same mistakes we did. And this is what incubator session looks like. We are in a room in the blog, and we do a bunch of exercises and workshops, and it's very hands-on. It's not like university. It's like a place where we work with the projects together and try to solve their problems. And then you have another one. These are photos from the first cohort. These are some of the in-person workshops that we make, and then we have also other workshops that take place online. This one is a UX UI design workshop with Plinio. Some pictures from the experience of the incubator. Also, it's about networking between the teams. So this photo was taken a few weeks ago in Lisbon with the teams that are participating in this third cohort. So today is the demo day, and we're going to have the presentations of a number of projects, not only those that are graduating now, but also others that were participating in previous cohorts and that they are here to show their progress. So we will have OpenVino which is a solution of traceability for organic wine based on Kleros curation in order to make the certification process different to what it works now and way more transparent and efficient. Then we will have a presentation by Prove Me Wrong, that is a project by Ferit, one of Kleros alumni and Kleros OG, may I say, who is working on how to use Kleros for verification of information online and how to detect fake news. We will have also from the second cohort now UBI, which is a project that is doing a marketplace for freelancing and different type of also sales of goods and different services online on Web3, and this uses Kleros for resolving disputes that may arise between the Alice and Bobs that interact in these markets. Then TalentLayer, building a very cool work protocol that can be used for building the LinkedIns of the future, let's say. The badge, a project that is doing a system that can be used for verification of lots of different things online, and has very cool applications, in my opinion, for example, in real world assets, which is going to be very, very hot in times to come. And finally, we will have lenstags that is building on top of Lens protocol, and this is in the area of content moderation, which is something that we are very deeply exploring in Kleros now, and so we're very happy to have them in the incubator. So guys, very sorry I can't make it live, but yeah, I mean, at least I wanted to say a few words for you, and yeah, hopefully all of the demo day will go great, and good luck to the teams, and see you very soon. Bye-bye.
All right, so with that introduction from Federico, I guess we can kick off with the first team presenting today, which is alumni of the second batch of the Kleros Incubator, Ignacio and the rest of the team from UBI Marketplace. Guys, take it away.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Ignacio. I have more than 7 years of experience building software projects. I am currently the CEO and co-founder of UBI.
Hello everyone, I'm Benja. I have over 10 years in experience of technology and innovation. I am currently the CTO of UBI, and I'm very excited to be part of this team.
Hi, my name is Leandro. I am the developer and I'm excited to be the lead full stack web developer and co-founder of UBI.
Okay, thank you all for being here. Now I'm going to start the presentation about our project UBI. UBI is the Web3 marketplace where you can buy and sell everything with crypto while making social impact. We identified the lack of a secure and easy platform to buy and sell all kinds of services with crypto, along with the high fees associated with existing solutions. So our Web3 marketplace allows users like Bob, a logo designer from Venezuela, and Alice, who needs a logo for her Twitch channel in Germany, to connect and transact securely with UBI or Ethereum. As you can see, a glimpse of the platform. On the left, we have Bob, and on the right, we have Alice, both trying to interact within each other. Our target users include freelancers, developers, designers, and crypto startups, and much more people interacting between each other. As of today, we have completed, we offer a 0% commission on transaction for the first year, followed by 0.1 commission after that. So our network strategy involves leveraging the Proof of Humanity community, which has more than 18,000 people registered. Then the Lens protocol with more than 100K users interacting with each other, with the Kleros ecosystem as buyers, sellers, intermediaries, jurors, and curators. Also with the liquidity pool of TalentLayer, we will bring a lot of interaction within all these parties. As of today, we have completed some traction milestones we set and have more than 50 beta testers and have recently conducted a soft launch with a couple of transactions already live on Gnosis. And on April 15, we have our official launch. We have a UBI token that serves as a utility and governance token and will be used inside the platform for several benefits, such as premium listing with increased visibility, leveling up your SBT profile, and governance combined with proof of humanity, one person, one vote. Our roadmap includes integrating a reputation system with TalentLayer, NFT minting and trading, the product model, and deploying on other chains such as BNB, Polygon, and Optimism. Here you can see our core team. I can name, well, the ones that are with us today: Benjamin, Leandro, David, and some contributors, Daichu, Joaquin, and so we are looking for funding, beta testers, and mentoring in this stage. Now I proceed to show a little bit the platform, showcasing two case scenarios. Let me start sharing and go back to the platform. This is the platform. This is the UBI platform. So I proceed to connect with my wallet raised from Proof of Humanity and sign the message. Now, okay, say welcome. So I don't see if you, I don't know if you guys can see the pop-up from MetaMask. Maybe not.
No.
No. Oh, okay. Well, it doesn't matter. It's just some message. Okay, now I will proceed to create the first case scenario where I will buy a service from Leandro. This is Live Gnosis, a real service. So he's selling his custom web development service. So you can see here, but the pop-up MetaMask appeared. So I have to confirm the transaction to be sent to the escrow and be held the payment there. So in this case, it will be a successful transaction. Well, as soon as it's impact on the blockchain, here it gets the other display rendered, and I see, okay, thanks for offering your service. Proceed to mark the job as complete. So here, Leandro will mark the job as complete so I can release the payment. This is, of course, take in mind that the service that Leandro offered was completed successfully according to my terms. So yes, as soon as he marked the job as complete, I will be able to release the payment. Leandro, you just hit me up when you do it?
Yes.
Okay, so now I have the work marked as completed, and I can proceed to release the payment to Leandro. So the pop-up from MetaMask appeared, and I'm able to confirm the transaction, so it gets released the payment to the seller. Okay, perfect. So now the status of the order will change from order created to order paid as soon as it passes. Okay, here we go. Okay, order paid. Now the second case scenario, if you just give me more little time, it will be when something goes wrong. What happens if something goes wrong in the transaction? Then if something goes wrong, I can start a claim and it will reach to Kleros. So Kleros will be able to intermediary between each other, between the seller and the buyer, and proceed to fail in favor of the evidence they have. So now I can complete. Here you can detail the reasons for it, personal reasons. I can choose whether I want the full amount or half amount in case of he just do half of the work or all of the work or none of the work. So that's I can attach a file and choose the message accordingly to the evidence and the reasons why I'm making this claim. Here you can see a modal that you will be able to review your evidence, submit. And now oh, perfect. I don't have enough of that. Well, and now I send to him, and he can choose to challenge the claim, and it will open a dispute in Kleros. So as you can see, it will, if I did that, then you can see the dispute created here. And if I go to here, the dispute has been created on Kleros, and a juror will be selected and arbitrate. So okay, now thank you all for listening to our presentation, and we look forward to any question you have. Feel free to reach out to us on our social channels by scanning our QR code below, or you can just join Telegram and Twitter.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ignacio, and the rest of the UBI team. So if there aren't any more questions last minute, then let's turn it over to Ferret and the guys that Prove Us Wrong to discuss their solutions for curation and fake news checking. Guys, the floor is yours.
My name is Ferit Tunçar. I'm the founder of the organization Prove Us Wrong, and today I'm going to present you the Truth Post, a decentralized platform to curate accurate and relevant news. Before jumping to the project, let's start with a quick introduction to curation. You might not notice, but curation is everywhere. Every time we need to learn about something, we resort to curations. Take Wikipedia, for example. Each article is a curation. Or think about Nobel Prize. It's a curation of most important contributors to human knowledge and progress. Curation is everywhere for a reason. It's very practical to consume distilled information. Which brings us to the next point. Curation is a productivity multiplier that enables us to make informed choices without classifying and verifying every bit of information by ourselves, which is great. But every curation has a curator. By consuming curated information, we put faith in curators' honesty and competency. And very often we regret it. Not only because the curation can be biased or misleading, it can also be intentionally manipulating. When incentives of curator and consumer do not align, bad things happen. A famous example is tobacco ads. For decades, tobacco companies engaged in disinformation campaigns to discredit scientific research linking to tobacco use to cancer and other diseases. This led to widespread misinformation about the dangers of smoking and delayed public health interventions. We can do better by decentralizing curation to not rely on a curator. And that's why at Prove Us Wrong, we are building decentralized curation products with self-sustaining economies. Now that we established why curation matters and why decentralization can make it much better, let's continue with our solution in news use case. The Truth Post is a decentralized news platform where each piece of news is curated for accuracy and relevance without any trust assumptions. We chose news as the niche use case as it was the lowest hanging fruit due to its importance and being in trouble with the fake news problem. Also, reporting relevant news is not well incentivized, and auto-censorship is a big problem too. In an ideal world, we will be reading only the green part from the news sources, which is our objective in this project. Accuracy is rather universal, but relevance totally depends on what readers are looking for. That's why we believe defining what's relevant to readers, which means anyone can create a curation pool in the Truth Post to essentially create a newspaper, similar to subreddits in Reddit. The solution we developed to this problem is almost like Reddit, but with a decentralized curation mechanism built in. So you don't need to trust moderators or authors or rely on upvotes of other users to determine the most relevant content. Accuracy curation system is an orchestration of bug bounty programs, decentralized dispute resolution, and statistics. Similar to bug bounties, authors publish articles with a security deposit, and in case someone proves the article inaccurate before the Kleros court, the deposit gets lost. Authors can also stake their reputation to lower the amount of security deposit necessary to convince readers. Articles accumulate trust scores weighted by security deposits and reputation. This way, trust scores become indicators of accuracies. Using past data, statistical analysis provides insights about likelihoods of an article getting debunked. Users can also participate in crowdsourced relevancy curation by staking platform tokens to be drawn randomly to juries. Curation jury scores items and the votes which fall within tolerance interval of consensus deemed coherent. Coherent votes earn a reward and incoherent votes gets a penalty. Rewards of authors are weighted according to relevance scores. This incentivizes authors to publish the most relevant content. This is the network effect we anticipate. In the beginning, the platform offers freedom of speech, no middleman, rewarding quality work, and credible neutrality. These will attract authors, so they will post articles. Articles will attract curators because they can earn by curating. When curators grow in number, it will cause articles to get curated by many, so we will have better curated articles. Good articles will attract readers, and authors will be even more motivated to publish when they see there are more readers, which means their articles get more publicity. Curators buy and stake tokens to participate in relevancy curation. Curation earnings are taxed to support Treasury, and Treasury is used to reward authors. More usage of the platform will generate more tax, which in turn create a bigger pool of rewards for authors. More usage also means more content and stronger network effects. Essentially, the better the platform is, the worthier the token. News is just the beginning. We are tailoring this curation solution to news use case now, but we plan to expand to other use cases after we succeed in news. And eventually to expand this curation mechanism to all things. Just like Amazon did from books to everything. We are building an MVP publicly, and it's live at toothpost.news. You can check out anytime. Here you see the front page. We wanted it to look like a real-life newspaper. We have a bunch of news above their titles. They have trust scores and statuses. In this page, you can submit an article by filling out the form, title, body, tags if you like, security deposit amount, and curation pool selection. This is a screenshot from an article details page. You can see the trust score and the status again. Also the security deposit amount, curation pool ID, publishing, timestamp, and the author. This is event log. Here we list all the events of a given article in a chronological order. So you can see what has happened in the past, how many disputes were there, what was the past evidence, and so on. On the bottom of the page, we see article tags. and a button to challenge the article called Prove It Wrong, which means anyone can, who believes the article inaccurate, can click this button to create a dispute before the Kleros court to prove the article's inaccuracy. In case they manage to prove it, they win the security deposit of the article. Here you see in extra arbitration details component. In case of a dispute, page displays an arbitration dispute details component, which shows details about arbitration and periods and so on. So it's pretty much like this, and thanks for listening. It's time for questions. If you have any, I would be glad to answer.
Well, simple question. When do you think it will be live?
So actually we were planning to put it live much earlier, but then we realized the relevancy part was missing. So we spent a lot of time to figure out how to implement that. Now we figured it out, and we are working on a new contract which includes relevancy part as well. So current web application is connected to the initial version of contract, which doesn't have relevancy part. So I guess it will take months because we need to go over contract and a new subgraph and yeah, a new flow in the front end.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, guys. So yeah, thanks for the presentation, Farid. And so next up, we have a project that's doing some pretty interesting things in a real world industry, the wine industry. And they tackle issues such as the traceability of individual wine bottles, fair price discovery of wine, and enabling more transparent certification standards. So let's hear from Mike from OpenVino.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations to everyone that's in the latest cohort of the incubator. We were in the first year, and which is a couple of years ago, and working on OpenVino. So just get into it. So OpenVino, I'm the founder of the project. We've been doing this for 6 years now, and it really addresses 3 different aspects for the wine industry. So we make wine and also are doing Web3, and so they have the overlap of expertise in this area. So it really changes the way wineries are able to sell wine through tokenization. It changes the whole way we talk about certification. Certification, not just for things like organic or carbon footprint or fair trade, but also a lot of aspects that are related to wine, like where the wine is from, who the wine is made by, and what kind of grapes are used, and all kinds of attributes. And also how we value wine, meaning how can we evaluate the response from consumers. So I'll just briefly go through each of these 3, and I'll be focusing on the second, which is where we're working most with Kleros. So this basically comes down to tokenization, traceability, and transparency. These 3 different aspects of taking a real world product, a bottle of wine, and applying these 3 different facets. With regards to tokenization, which is what we started out in 2018, just 10 days ago, we harvested grapes here in Argentina, and we'll be doing our 6th tokenization, what's called the MTB 23, and then opening up to other wineries that we've identified here in Argentina and Chile, Spain, Germany, and the US. And so tokenization is essentially where a winery is able to issue a token, which is a one-to-one match for a bottle of a particular vintage. So every vintage, every wine will have its own token, and of course the price can float. So there's elasticity, which allows both the winery to start receiving revenue immediately after wine is produced, even though they might have to wait and sit on production. So to give an example, we here in Argentina usually harvest grapes in the month of March. After a few weeks, this is fermented and we have wine. But this wine actually needs to sit 2 or 3 years at least before it's ready to be drunk by the public. And so by tokenizing, one of the things that we do is short circuit this and allow some of the tokens for that particular vintage to be sold immediately. Our vintage coin offering we do every year on the 6th of May. And our exchange is OpenVino.xyz, where during the first few months, we're basically doing a crowd sale. People can buy tokens for ETH. And then after a couple of months, in our case, the 25th of July, people can both buy and sell. It becomes essentially a front end for Uniswap, allowing people to buy and sell these tokens until the wine is available after 3 years to do a redeem. And then we can deliver them to this. So this solves a lot of problems for wineries. It solves a lot of problems for consumers as well. A large consumer, let's say an importer, a distributor, whatnot, can buy a larger volume, take a risk on a larger volume of wine. But because it has liquidity, because they can always sell the tokens that's behind these bottles, if they see that the sale is not performing as well, or if the price of the wine goes above a certain threshold, they can always liquidate their tokens. So again, this is our 6th year doing wine tokenization, and we have identified wineries in 6 different countries that we're working with to start rolling out little by little other wineries to be able to do their tokenization as well. We have a traceability element that I'll just briefly touch on. This is essentially creating a serialized QR code that goes on each of the bottles. This allows a consumer to answer, essentially create an NFT based on their experience drinking. So sort of POAP for wine drinking. But in exchange of doing this process of answering a questionnaire, taking a selfie, registering their experience drinking this wine, they can receive a share of the company, of the winery, of a DAO, or have some other sort of participation as a loyalty function. So it's not just giving back feedback for feedback's sake. It's taking the drinker and providing them ownership afterwards. But our main focus for today is talking about transparency, and this is what we call biodigital certification. And I'll use the case of organic, but we can use this for not just for organic, but for, like I mentioned earlier, other sustainability questions like carbon footprint, water footprint, but also things like provenance. So when you pick up a bottle of wine, if it's a European wine, you'll see, oh, this is the appellation in the region of France, or denominación de origen in Spain. It's very particular with the region you're buying from. It's very particular the varietal. It's very particular maybe the winemaker or the style of wine. So there's a lot of attributes that wineries are providing for their wines, and this usually translates into some sort of a sticker, a stamp on the bottle. For wineries to get this, they have to pay a third-party auditor, somebody that's coming in and saying, yep, this is an organic wine, it's not. And so what we're looking here is basically to eliminate this necessary element, this third party that increases the expense of to the winery and doesn't really solve the problem about certification, because the incentives for the certifying body are misaligned. In other words, if I'm paying a third-party organic certifier to come and certify my winery, they have every incentive very quickly give me a yes and move on to the next. If they refuse me as a certification for 1 year, they lose a recurring customer. So they have no interest in doing this. And so the incentives are misaligned basically with all kinds of certifications. So essentially what we do with biodigital certification with Kleros is first establish what is, in this case, organic in very clear terms based on existing legislation. So we spent a lot of time going over the different phrases and terms and exactly what is it that in plain language, somebody could understand, okay, this is what organic means. How do we provide a proof of artifacts? And this can be sensor data from IoT. This can be work logs from an app given to workers. This is image data on IPFS from a 360 or a fixed camera. And any kind of analysis, soil analysis, water analysis, whatever it is that the winery wants to provide that can demonstrate that they're in compliance with these, with the first column, what is organic. And of course, the third stage is the bounty. So in this case, interacting with a curation token and being able to say, can the winery, when we're registering a label, a tokenized wine, as for biodigital certification, basically placing a bounty for 30 days, allowing a challenger to challenge the accuracy of this. So this can be a neighbor, a competitor, maybe a provider for products that wouldn't be considered organic, disgruntled employee, whomever it is that says that they have evidence that can prove that this winery is in fact not organic and wants to pursue the bounty. So this is basically the way we're leveraging the Kleros jury to be able to create a bounty and incentive, something that a winery can run for 30 days. If there's no challenges or if challenges are defeated, they have the badge as organic and move on to the next year. This is an annual recurring thing. This needs to be done for every wine. And so this is a way to essentially reduce the cost of certification by enabling self-certification, enabling wineries to provide more proof of artifacts. These artifacts, besides not only is it we collecting this information, but this is also published on chain through a hash using a protocol from Blook.com that allows us to register this information. So that's essentially biodigital certification. We've been working with not only with my winery, with Costa Flores, but with other wineries to see what are the issues associated with their needs for certification. How quickly could they do this? What kind of data do they have? What kind of expansion do we need to have for a proof of artifacts? And how can we make this as simple as possible? And so we hope to have their first wineries coming online with this this year in July. We wanted to do it earlier in the year, but basically we want to make sure that the first wineries beyond Costa Flores, which is the first winery doing this, our winery, we want to make sure that the first wineries that are both tokenizing and doing self-certification and creating experience NFTs are all successful so that we don't have any first bad experiences. So basically this platform is not just a benefit to the wineries, it's also useful for regulators by reducing costs for wineries to be within a certain regulatory scheme. It works with an existing supply chain for the tokenization. This is very important because the supply chain for wine is quite complex. We're not selling socks, we're selling food and alcohol and things that are very heavily regulated from one country to another. And so the way we want to take this forward is using a partner network. So rather than having one organization, OpenVino, signing up and doing the onboarding process, we work with partners right now we have in Chile and Argentina, Spain and Germany, and talking with other in the US to say, you onboard the wineries, you do the education, consulting, hand-holding, and provide the essential data for issuing the tokens You explain to the wineries what the tokenomics are, how this works, and create a revenue source for that. So this is basically for scaling. Just briefly with the numbers, we're talking about a $400 billion industry. By the year 2027, there's 30 billion bottles of wine created every year. But what's most interesting about this is that it's a highly fragmented marketplace. It's not like spirits or beers, where you have very few big players that have taken over the market. We have 70,000 wineries worldwide that are all trying to get their particularities, their message, their quirkiness across. And that's why there's so many different categories of certification, not just organic, but other types of things that wineries want to show off why they're different from everyone else. And that's why this is an ideal first market for disrupting the existing standards for certification. So essentially, those are the three areas: transparency, tokenization, and traceability. This is essentially how we're looking about building a DAO. I can share the particularities of how investment and funding are working, and how we incentivize first wineries to come on board. But basically, at this point, we need to make everything work. That's what we've been kind of quiet in the past 6 months, fixing how our sensors are working for self-certification, making sure that the descriptions of organic and whatnot is clear and concise, and making sure that we have partner wineries to go to the next level, and make it as simple as possible, and building this base community before we go to the next step of taking it from 1 winery to 5 wineries to 50 wineries. And so this is our scaling process. Basically, this is a combination of expertise about the wine world, about Web3 and IoT, and identifying private and public partners that understand what we're doing and make sure that they're able to transmit this. We've signed an agreement last year with the National Wine Institute in Argentina, which is the national wine board that basically oversees every single wine that's produced. And we want to replicate this model within regions in Europe and within specific winemaking countries like Chile and South Africa, the US and Argentina. So basically that's OpenVino. If you have any questions, I'm open to questions, or contact me directly. Thank you very much.
Hi, Mike. I have a question for you. I think it's a pretty interesting product. What is the onboarding process for a winery to OpenVino?
Yes. So basically, right now we're building essentially a 3-day workshop, a 3 half-day workshop. The first day is really to explain a lot of concepts to a winery about Web3, blockchain, tokenization, what the important the opportunities are, and why this is interesting for their marketplace. The second day is focused on, okay, now let's understand what wines you're producing. So are you producing wines that are held for 10 years and then go out into the marketplace? Are you selling them that go out after 1 year? Are you selling wines of a certain category? What's your marketplace? How are you exporting? How's your supply chain work? So really collecting a lot of data about the wineries in particular, to understand what kind of particularities they might have. And then the third day is really about defining, okay, let's decide to tokenize one of your wines. What would the tokenomics be? Like, for how long is the period is the token valid? What are the issues related to the issuance, and how are you going to value it, and what's the name of the token, and what kind of information did you want to have on a landing page, and these types of things. So it's more the technical side. For the biodigital certification, essentially the same process. Are you currently an organic winery, or you're not organic? Are you what is it that we want to do the biodigital certification for? If you're not an organic winery today, well, then that opens up a whole lot of work that the winery needs to do with or without crypto, right? With or without working with Kleros and OpenVino. And so assuming that, yes, they already are or on track to be an organic producer, it's okay, let's have a look at what are the artifacts that you have available and what needed to be provided as this attestation before you go out and stake money into a bounty.
Nice.
So basically, these are the workshops that need to be done. And these are something that we're delivering directly now to wineries, but the idea is to expand this as a revenue producing set of services that partners in local regions. So we have some people that are in Chile and others in Germany and say, I know the wineries, I want to onboard them. And I say, great, you learn how to deliver this workshop, you sell it, you collect 100% of the revenue. But when you're finished, you have a winery that's already ready to go and on board onto OpenVino.
Nice. And final question. How are they going to verify how many bottles are issued of a certain wine type or so? Is there a process of verification there?
So that's an interesting question. So what we're doing in Argentina is, so understand, first of all, that wine is a highly regulated product, like I said before. So when you produce, I'll give you the example of Argentina, but this is the same pretty much anywhere in the world. When you produce a new vintage, a new wine, you have to report this to somebody. Here it's the National Wine Board. If you're in Rioja, it's the Denominación de Origen in Rioja, or in Italy, it's a different, everyone has a different region that you have to report things like where are the grapes coming from, how many kilos of grapes did you turn into wine, how many bottles were produced, and what tanks is this held in, what's the alcohol, a chemical analysis, and these types of things. So this information already exists. That's why we started by creating an alliance with the Argentine regulator here and saying, look, you don't have to invest any money or do anything. All you have to do is allow a winery who wants to tokenize, allow us to see their data that they've given to you. And so that we can validate the number of bottles, and the actual characteristics of the wine. Now, of course, we could do on a small scale, manually inspect the winery or go visit them or talk to them. But the idea is that working through the existing regulators where this information is already available. And so if I produce 10,000 bottles of a 2023 vintage, and then I go and make more wine of the same vintage, I'm committing serious fraud already. But I already have those controls in place that is different from other types of commodities.
Amazing. Thank you very much for the information. Sounds pretty cool.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we introduce the next team?
Yeah, so I want to ask, I didn't understand, how do you make sure tokenization is secure? Like, how can users make sure that token represents the real wine? No one can fake the fake bottle of wine and replace tokens.
So the winery is issuing basically tokenizing 100% of a specific wine. That doesn't mean that they're tokenizing all their wines in the winery, but let's say they have a particular wine that they're going to tokenize. They're tokenizing 100% of it and putting those bottles up for sale. As I just mentioned to Agustin, by having the relations with the wine regulator, I basically can validate two things. I can validate it's a real winery that's registered and has an address, and because they have already done they basically can validate that this winery is existing, and the person who is doing the tokenization already has login credentials, some authentication credentials with them, so I can say, yep, this is a real winery, the person that's tokenizing. And B, the wine actually exists, because of what I mentioned earlier about the requirement that they already have a registering the volume, the amount of bottles, and the particularities of the wine and a chemical analysis. So I can validate the winery and I can validate the wine. Can I ensure that the winery is going to sell the tokens and then comply on the end of delivering the wine to the people that exchange the tokens? No, I can't do that. But that's the same thing as if you paid in advance for something or any e-commerce situation. If I don't send you the product, at the end of the day, I'm going to have a really hard time holding on to the rest of my customers. So that isn't really a Web3 issue. That's just an existing problem. Now, as a public-facing company, wineries are not run. These have an address and a reputation, and so if you're not shipping wines to people, it's very quickly going to be a problem.
Yeah, maybe the producer is not evil, but maybe the one who distributes the wine buys the wine from the producer and then replaces the original wine with the fake wine and attaches the tokens. So then the end user will think that the wine is original because of the token, but actually it's not. So I don't see how you can secure. Yeah.
Well, the redeem of the tokens is through OpenVino exchange, regardless of how you receive the wine. So you're not burning your token with another person. That doesn't mean you couldn't do a peer-to-peer exchange with a token for somebody else, but then you can have that same fraud issue with anybody else, right? This is not, you're describing a problem that isn't peculiar to tokenization. Now, if you want to know how we want to address wine fraud in general, this is actually by associating a spectrographic profile to each of the tokens using a Raman spectroscopy mechanism that basically is a scanner that you can place a bottle and being able to say all of these wines for this particular token have this profile. And if you want to have this in different locations in the world to be able to evaluate, is this the actual wine that you bought with the tokenization? But we're still some time away from that. The fraud problem is not something that's really a new problem by using Web3. It's already an existing problem, but I think we have a solution for it by combining these technologies.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any questions? Any more questions? Going once, going twice. All right. So I guess let's move on.
Good luck, guys, with the rest of the.
I guess let's move on to the next team. Thanks again, Mike, for your presentation.
This is the batch. This is the demo day, and we are going to present our product. So who is presenting today? So my name is Austin Pane. I'm software engineer. I'm one of the co-founders of the batch. I studied in UTN Santa Fe in Argentina, and I also studied in KIT in Germany. I work for many projects, Not Safe, 0x, Lightyear, and Prototype. And now I want to tell you about our platform. So what is the batch in a few words? The batch is basically a protocol that allows to curate information in a decentralized way. It's a protocol that helps to build trust in our in the Web3 ecosystem by issuing Web3 certificates. The idea behind the batch is that we have three different users: creators, curators, and batch users. The creators are people from the real world that have certain knowledge about a specific topic, and they want to certify something that they can do. And they can create rules to certify something, and these rules then will be applied to obtain a certificate. Curators are the people in charge of reviewing the proof that the batch user upload as evidence, and they are going to verify that the certification that you want to obtain as a user you complete the proof in order to obtain it. And the batch users are just the people that want to get a specific certification. So which is the current status of the blockchain world? Basically, there are a lot of companies that are issuing Web3 certificates, and also are normal Web2 companies that are issuing certifications. But what is the main difference between us, between the batch, and within other companies? The main difference is the completely decentralized mechanism that we have. Nowadays, if you want to obtain a certificate, normally you go to an university, or you go to a company, or you go to the state, or whatever, but you need to go to a centralized entity in order to get a certification. But with the batch, the thing that makes everything completely different is that everyone with a certain knowledge can create a certification. So it's like basically a new market for decentralized notaries on chain. So now let's show you a little demo. So let's go for the creator. As I already said, you can earn money basically if you know something about your company, about the real world, and you want to certify something. For example, you are working in Amazon or Mercado Libre or eBay for a couple of years, and you want to bring your reputation that you have as a seller to an on-chain marketplace. And you don't want to lose that reputation because it has a lot of time, and you want to obtain this information on chain. With the batch, you can basically create what we call a batch type or batch strategy that are basically rules in order to validate this and bring this information like Web2, like this Web2 information on your Web3 password, basically. So it's like a decentralized oracle for information. Creating a batch is quite simple. It's just defining a list of rules that you need to accomplish in order to do that. You can put a price, that this price is what the users are going to pay. And this price is going to be used to incentivize more creators to work. So you as a creator are earning money by creating these certificates. As you can see, this is an example of Mercado Libre. Mercado Libre is a web like Amazon. And you can create a certificate quite easy. And once it's submitted, other users can directly mint the certification. So now let's go to the example of minting a certification. So as I already said, we have 3 users. The batch users are the ones that need to provide the evidence to prove that they are eligible to obtain the certification. In this case, in the case of Mercado Libre, they just have to make a post on the Mercado Libre account with their address, and then the curators are going to validate that and going to check that the proof is enough to issue the batch. Obviously, if you don't comply with the requirements, you are going to be penalized. So it's not easy to obtain a certification. It's a completely decentralized mechanism incentivized by the blockchain, basically. So as we can see here, issuing a batch on Mercado Libre is quite easy. Just explore the batches, see what you want to obtain, and complete the process. Now let's show the curation. So the curation is the crucial part of this, because the curation is a process in which a user earns money by validating that the users are in compliance with the standards that are well defined by the criteria in the process of creation of the batch. In this case, what we can see is that the user won't match the criteria. So in this case, the curator can earn money by doing a challenge. When doing a challenge, basically, this will allow the curator to earn the money of the batch that the user that wanted to obtain the batch, and obviously the user that wanted to obtain the batch will lose his deposit. In this case, what we can see is that the addresses are not matching according to the criteria, and in this case, the batch basically will be challenged, and in a period of 48 hours after the curation period, the batch user won't get the batch, and he will lose the deposit that will go directly to the curator. So now let's talk about use case. So in this case, what we show is just was a simple use case of on-chain reputation. Basically bringing your reputation from the real world to on-chain. But this is obviously can be used for a lot of different use cases. It's not just on-chain reputation. This can be used for validating real-world assets, for NFT copyright, for validating artists, for example, for doing the centralized compliance, or for doing crowdfunding. So the key of this is basically that everyone with certain knowledge of how to validate something in a specific place, in a specific country, for example, can use the platform to become like a notary and define the criteria. And this criteria will allow him to earn money, basically, for other users that are going to use the badge he created. Now let's talk about the model tokenomics. So why did we need the badge token? Basically, the badge token is crucial here because this mechanism of incentives cannot be done without a token. The creators are going to claim the fees by staking badge token. Curators are going to also unlock their fees if they stake token, and they also going to have more features on the platform when they stake more. And the users are going to be able to pay in batch token in order to speed up the process. Normally, the process, in average, it takes around 38 hours, but this process, obviously, the amount of time, the period of review time, will depend on the kind of batch that you are creating, obviously, and this is going to be defined by the creator and the creation time. So this basically produces a big network effect. So if we have more users and more partners, this means that more batches are going to be minted, are basically more transactions are going to be collected on more fees are going to be collected on the network. And this will attract more users, more creators, and more curators that are going to buy the batch token in order to work on the platform. Because there are more creators and more curators on the platform, basically this will make that a lot of more batches are going to be available for users, and also they will to be competitive among them because there are going to be more curators, and this will reduce the fees and the cost of each batch. Therefore, more users are going to join the platform, and more partners are going to use our batches, basically. Now let's talk about a little bit the roadmap. So we just finished the Q1. On this Q1, basically we developed what we showed before. So the basic functionality of the platform, the curation, creation, and minting. Now in Q2, we are starting the beta launch campaign and the marketing campaign. The idea is to go in Q3 directly to production. And in Q4 and beyond, we are going to develop the third-party integrations. And we are going to also develop some features very crucial to the platform, like security layer. And for finishing, I want to just mention our team. We are 4 founders, but also we have a great team of advisors. We have legal advisor, financial knowledge, solidity knowledge, Web3 knowledge, marketing, community building, UX advisors that are making this possible. So I want to also thank you, the team. And yes, that's all for the batch. If you have any questions, just feel free. Thank you. Okay.
So what about if I try to mint a badge I should not get?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
What about if I try to mint a badge that I shouldn't be able to mint?
I'm not sure if I get your question, but you can always select the badge you want if you want to mint. So for example, you go to the Explorer and you see, okay, I want to mint a badge about real world assets, and you won't truly be able to do that because you don't have the proof or the evidence to be eligible to get a badge. So you can do it. Yes, you can do it. The problem is that you will lose the money because the curators are going to detect that you are not eligible because you cannot prove that you are really eligible to get a badge. You cannot comply with the conditions of the badge. So you will basically lose your deposit. You will lose the money. That's
Yeah,
it.
but what is the process of losing the money of the malicious user?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you well.
So what's the process between the malicious user to lose their money?
In this case, well, what I was saying, I think that you can hear me, is that, well, in the curation process at the beginning, that take an amount of time that the creator configs, the curators will see the evidence and will prevent that you have the badge in that case. But if for some case that period of times go through and the badge is allowed to be claimed for the user that present wrong evidence, there is always another instance where when that user tried to use the badge that was getted with wrong evidence, you can see the evidence again every time, and you can always see the listening criteria or the acceptance criteria every time that you see a badge, and you could raise a challenge through that badge. When someone's raised a challenge, the owner of the badge has the responsibility to say, well, I want to go with this challenge, put my money and prove that I am saying the right things, my proof are right, or the badge will be removed because the proof from the challenge say that you are wrong, you have a bad evidence on it. Not sure if that answered your question.
Yeah, that was the question.
Cool.
Any other questions for the badge? Going once, going twice. All right. So thanks. Thanks for presenting. This was a great presentation, great pitch, and excited to see more. So I guess now we can turn the stage over to Kirsten to talk about open labor markets and their infrastructure solutions. Kirsten.
Hello again, guys. Can you hear me?
I think you're muted.
I'm muted.
Oh, we can hear you.
I can hear you.
Never mind. All good. So thank you guys once again. Got better Wi-Fi this time. So today we're going to be talking about TalentLayer, and like I was mentioning before, just wanted to give a big shout out to Kleros before we get into things, because you guys were the first to ever believe in us, and we really appreciate it. Wouldn't be here without you. So today we're going to first do an introduction to TalentLayer, and then we're going to do a deep dive into the technology behind our infrastructure. So first of all, we're going to talk about the problem that work and workers experience today. So today we find people to hire, and we find our jobs on platforms. And these platforms are great. They've really helped us connect with broader audiences globally, be able to be a little bit more efficient than we used to with hiring. But the way that we work is changing, and these platforms haven't really evolved in decades since their creation. These silos are basically what platforms are. Platforms silo user data, they silo user reputation, and most importantly, they fragment the market. They mean that if you are a hirer and you're posting on one platform, you only get access to the workers on that platform and vice versa. So what this means is it's really hard for hirers to find the right people to work for them and for workers to find jobs. And this causes workers to create accounts on a bunch of platforms. And it's just in general really bad for the workers, the hirers, and the platforms themselves, because these platforms have their number one issue as the chicken and egg problem. So this is having enough workers and hirers on the same marketplace in the same silo to be able to have those users transact and for the platform to make enough revenue. And this is the number one reason that marketplace platforms die. So let's take a step back though. Small tangent. Why was DeFi so revolutionary? Why was this a powerful application of blockchain technology? Well, it's because pooled liquidity, open access, and composability enabled things that weren't possible before. They enabled much higher transaction volume, much more efficient markets, because they pooled liquidity at a lower level protocol. So for example, Uniswap's a great example of this, where you basically have hundreds of different platforms that are all allowing their users to interface with Uniswap. And a lot of times the end users don't even know that they're touching Uniswap. They just know that they get all the benefits of the efficiency and being able to access it in an uncensorable way. So if we can have this kind of thing in open finance, why can't we have this sort of thing in labor markets? Why can't we do this with hiring? And at TalentLayer, we believe that this is not only possible, but this is like the way that we will be working in the future. And that's why we've built our low-level protocol for labor markets. So what TalentLayer is it's very low-level infrastructure for all of the back-end components of hiring platforms. So for hiring platforms, think of anything between freelance marketplaces to language exchange platforms to just even full-time hiring platforms. So what's powerful when you have this kind of stuff living at a low level is you can actually have transactions between users on different platforms. And what this means is we can even out the liquidity across these different platforms. So we do this via pooling user profiles and jobs. And we're going to be getting into more of the tech and how that works later. So we are officially live on mainnet this week. We launched on the 4th of this month. And we actually have one marketplace that's already live on our infrastructure. So WorkX is available to check out now if you go to WorkX.io. So we also have a bunch of other teams that are building on us. So we have 3 more teams that have engineered with our infrastructure that are launching in April. These guys have been building over the winter. And then we have 4 additional teams that are in engineering without launch dates set yet. We have 6.5K user accounts created in the past 48 hours since our launch. This is pretty huge. And we have 8.5K in revenue also in those 48 hours from these transaction fees for these users. So all of this with no marketing, no incentives, completely organic growth. So our go-to-market strategy is to first onboard the freelance marketplaces of the world. These freelance marketplaces experience a lot of issues with the chicken and egg problem and are a really great target market for us. Freelance marketplaces, though, is a very broad category in itself. Think of everything from graphic design marketplaces to developer marketplaces, influencer marketing platforms, and more. But why are we really building this? Why do we care? It's because we are all freelancers. So TalentLayer is this big open source community that has come together. We haven't been around for that long. So we started building at ETHCC earlier last year. And about 8 months later, now we're on mainnet and have the most amazing team ever. So my co-founder Roman and I both have been freelancing for a long time and hiring freelancers for the various startups that we've built. And we've both been in blockchain for about the past 4 years. And this is a little bit of a profile on our core team and open source contributors. We, of course, have more people that we're not shouting out here, but thank you to everyone that has contributed so far. We also have some pretty amazing advisors, specifically Owen, Scott, Mark, Federico, like all of these guys have had the vision of open labor markets, but back when they were initially building, there wasn't enough like base layer infrastructure to be able to see the vision of really scalable marketplace infrastructure using blockchain tech. But now it is possible because all that lower infrastructure has been built over the past 5 years, including Kleros. So far, we've received actually a lot of grant funding. So grants from the EU, Push Protocol, Filecoin Foundation, Lens. A lot of these teams are also providing additional support, whether it's marketing or other sorts of partnerships. And we've also received 150K in investment so far. So we haven't really raised a traditional round yet. All of this has been through incubator programs and stuff like that. So if you believe that work should be uncensorable, if you believe that reputation should be self-owned, and if you believe that silos should be broken down, please join us. We're going to be raising a 3 mil seed round, or pre-seed round rather, and it's going to be opening soon. So you could just email me at kirsten@talentlayer.org. I'll send that link in messaging. And now we're going to jump into the tech behind TalentLayer. So in this section, you're going to be hearing from some of our core team members, and starting off with my co-founder, Roman.
Thank you, Kirsten. Hello, everyone. I'm Roman, co-founder and technical lead of TalentLayer. I'm really happy to be present today to show you what we built during month. I will share you the technical vision for TalentLayer that we got and how we start building all around an ecosystem. So first, the protocol itself. So building the protocol was of course our main concerns. It's a complex task to do, of course, and we defined since the beginning essential values and aspects for us to have in mind to take the right decision to create a protocol that is open, trustless, and autonomous. So for example, some of these values can be user sovereignty. One of the main reasons we are building this is to give the end users, the worker, the right to work freely. To achieve that, it's important that these users have complete ownership on all the content they created. So the services, the proposal, and of course, their reputation. Also, openness. It's in our DNA. We are building in public and open source protocols that aims to be fully transparent with all the data accessible to anyone, which is crucial, I think, for creating a more powerful, interoperable, and unstoppable network effect. We believe that this principle are essential to build a solid technical foundation. So let's now talk a bit more of how it works behind that. So like Kirsten said, we are live on Polygon. We deploy 6 different smart contracts. Every of them have a different purpose. The main one, the first one, will be the user identity. It's where we store the profile information. So there is here on-chain and off-chain data using IPFS. We got also 5 other module, which is the service agreement, where we create service and proposal system. And then we got the escrow. You can send funds linked to a service, have release of funds in several steps, have reimbursement, and all the dispute resolution mechanism behind it. Also, platform marketplaces got their own contracts. It allows them to manage their custom fees, to manage their dispute resolution strategy, and everything like that. And at the end, we got the reputation and a review contract, which is linked to the TalentLayer ID, which is a soulbound NFT contract. So what is important then is that all of these blockchain data are indexed on the graph part. And we are not only indexing the on-chain data, but we are also indexing all the off-chain data in the same place. Like that, it's really easy for marketplaces to create all the data and to get all the information from the pool of information. And by merging these 2 kinds of data in the same API, it allows a mixing of query that can, for example, get all the jobs on a certain keywords, on certain skills, thanks to the IPFS indexing. But then, so we now have the protocol, but now we want to have this data and all this technology be simply taken for anyone. So that's why we create TalentLayer Labs. So TalentLayer Labs aims to bring on one place all the different tools needing to build a marketplace or product on top of TalentLayer. We already deploy and develop several tools like in TalentLayer Labs. The first one is Indie Frontend. It's a complete ready-to-use marketplace that integrates all the components of TalentLayer with all the complete workflow from account creation to review. Martin, in a few minutes, is going to show you how it works. We also have several other things developed like gasless integration example, ZK proof, and also a platform where marketplaces can go and configure their fees, can see data analytics and all of that. So now I will let Martin present us the Indie Frontend.
Hello, guys. Just 1 second. Just
1 second.
Okay. Okay. Oh no, wait. I have to present myself. I'm Martin, developer of TalentLayer. Really glad to be here and to be part of this project. And Kleros Incubator. So let's watch the step of a collaboration between a service provider and a freelancer. It's a quick 30-minute video. No, I'm kidding, 3 minutes. Yeah, don't be afraid. And after you are free to ask questions and maybe invest in our project. So first, the service provider in green, and you will see the freelancer in a red browser. So first, you need to mint a TalentLayer ID. The 6Clover agency just mint the TalentLayer ID, and then with the dashboard, you can edit your profile with title, about, and other stuff. In a new release, we will have a lot of few other stuff in the profile. Okay. As you can see on the right bottom corner, you've got a small toast pop-up with all the information about on-chain data and off-chain data. And after, let's go to the posting job section. So let's post our first job. Title, about, keyword, and amount of the job, and you select your token. Let's proceed, transaction, and after, let's go to the freelancer dashboard in a few seconds, and let's go. So I'm a freelancer. I minted my TalentLayer ID as well, and I'm looking for a job. So let's find a job, and in the finding job section, you can even search with keyword, and fortunately, there is a full stack developer like me job. First, I'll contact the service provider. So we contact the service. You can chat with XMTP Web3 messaging, and you can chat, deal, ask some amazing question, maybe propose a coffee, and then when everybody is agree, you can make a proposal, create a proposal. So let's create a proposal about amount, token, expiration date, and even a Loom video field if you want to make custom proposal. So then if everything is all right on the service provider side, you can validate the proposal. As you can see in this pop-up, there is all the summary about job rate and fees applied to the rate amount job. We validate the proposal. And when the proposal is validated, you can first release a certain amount. So like here, we will release 30% of the total amount. And as you can see, we can directly check the transaction on Polygon Scan. So next on the freelancer dashboard, as you can see, there is payment summary. You can check if the release amount is well arrived. And after, when the job is finished, you can release all the amount. So everybody is happy, the job is finished. So now let's create a review with the create review pop-up. So it was really nice to work with 6Clover agency, 5 rating star. Yeah, special waiting music. And then on the service provider, as you can see the review of the freelancer, and you too create a review. So it was really nice to work with Martin. So it was amazing to work with Martin. His French accent was a cornerstone of this project. 5 rating star, of course. So everything is okay. And as you can see on the dashboard, you can check all the information about the review, the job, the proposal, and we finish. Let's play, and we finish with a special effect in 3, 2, 1. Thanks for watching.
So now we're going to jump back into the technical presentation over here. So next we're going to be talking a little bit about privacy on TalentLayer, because even though all of this data is open and transparent, and that's necessary for having searchability across these different marketplaces, it's also really important to think about user privacy. So Quentin's going to talk a little bit about that.
Thank you, Justin. Right, hi everyone. I am Quentin. I'm a dev at TalentLayer. So I'm here to talk to you about zkPal. So it's a feature that we implemented when we realized that a lot of our users are going to have a main public account and one or several anonymous accounts. And we thought that it would really be a shame that all the reputation gathered on the anon accounts would pretty much be lost. So we looked for a way that we could transfer all these reputation and achievements from the anon accounts to the main one. And that's where we decided to leverage a tech called Sysmo. So Sysmo uses zero-knowledge proof to allow a user to selectively take some data from some of his addresses and selectively display it on another address. So in our case, it would be the public one. It uses ZK proof, so the link between the addresses is not displayed. It's just the achievements and the competencies. So here the data is displayed as badges, so Sysmo badges. Here we have an example of 4 ones. So like, for example, 1 job executed with 5 stars or 20 jobs in PHP. So the way we did that is that we took all the database from our graph indexer and we provided it to the Sysmo protocol as a data source. And now using this data source, all the platforms can actually create their own badges and choose to display, well, any sort of achievement from an account to the other. So here we have an example of a profile. So this is the boss. He's a Solidity dev. And you see here that he has 0 reviews, but he already has 5 badges. So we can know that he has some competencies and it's proven on another account, which we do not need to know, well, the ID of the address, but still the competencies are shown here. And the good thing with this is that we can, platforms can also use other data providers such as Lens and mix them. Like we could have a badge saying is an active Lens user and has achieved 5 Solidity jobs, for example. So that's it for zkPal. And now.
Thank you. So now we're going to talk a little bit about dispute resolution and gas lists. Handing the floor to Mattia.
Hey everyone. So dispute resolution is basically one of the core components of any marketplace. Whenever you have people interacting and exchanging a service, natural that you can have disagreements. And this is basically what a dispute is. So 2 parties that don't agree on something and that can't reach a conclusion. So in the case of a work marketplace, let's make an example. Let's say Alice hires Bob to develop a website for her business, and Bob is done with the job after a while, but Alice is really happy because, I don't know, like the website is not working properly, it's super slow because Bob used PHP. And so Alice is not really satisfied and Bob thinks the work is great. What happens now? So Alice opens a dispute. So basically says that he wants to give to an arbitrator, so to a third party, the right to rule on the decision for this disagreement. So Bob has some time to accept the dispute. If the dispute goes on, they have now some time to basically submit evidence. So evidence is supporting material that parties can use to prove their opinion to be the right one. So in this case, can be screenshots of the website, the contract that they signed, or emails chatting about the work that was being done. And after this period where parties can submit evidence, then it comes the role of the arbitrator. Arbitrator, as I said, is a third party that can decide what the dispute is going to be resolved with. And we have different solutions here. And the main solution and the most democratic and fair one is to use Kleros. And so the dispute is going to be submitted to a decentralized court with jurors, and many people will be able to vote to analyze the evidence and basically vote on which result to use for the dispute. And in this case, it can be either the money goes back to the hirer because he was right, or it goes to the freelancer, or it can be split in half as well. So for chains where Kleros is not supported instead, we have another option which we call platform managed dispute resolution. And this is much more similar to a regular customer support. It's more centralized, of course, but basically platforms have the rights to arbitrate on user disputes. Yeah, so another cool feature that we have is gasless transactions. So even though we're using Web3 technology, most platforms care about having a super simple and web tool-like UX for the users. And when it comes to this, one of the biggest constraints is gas. So having the users to pay for every single transaction on the platform. So luckily, someone has thought about a solution to this, and this is called meta transactions. And basically means that you are able to sign a message that explains what a transaction is, and another party can submit it to the chain for you. So we made our contracts meta transaction compatible following a standard. And this means that platforms can now build on top of this some relayer solutions. So like using, for example, OpenZeppelin and Defender or Biconomy, and their users are able to do actions on TalentLayer without paying for gas. Another alternative solution that we have for this, for gasless, is called delegation. And this means that an address on a TalentLayer user can give rights to third-party addresses to do actions on their behalf on TalentLayer. So for example, posting a service or accepting a proposal, as long as it's not an action that is touching user funds. And the use cases for these are covering gas fees. So for example, the platforms can do these sort of actions for users, or also opens possibility to the creation of plugins like for automation or scheduling. So the UX now is much better because the user only has to sign one time and give the right to a third-party address to do these things, and then he can basically use the application without signing and submitting any more transactions. That's it.
Thank you, Mattia. Just to finish on the technical part, let's just have a quick look on the future development roadmap. So first, to make it as simple as possible for someone to create his own marketplace, we plan to create a simple Dapp where anyone can come and in a few clicks generate his own marketplace. For example, also, we want to build tools for marketplace for automatic content moderation using Kleros curation. Then on the protocol part, to expand the diversity of marketplace, we will develop new type of service and escrow system with auction mechanism, for example. And finally, an important step for us will be to develop our own token and all the mechanism around to improve the independency of the network and the incentive of everyone to act good in the network. With these updates and improvements, I do believe that TalentLayer will continue to grow and evolve in the future and in the following months. I think that TalentLayer will leave a new generation of projects bringing new value of the blockchain ecosystem and more important, bringing new value to users. Thank you for your attention. I will give the last word to Kristen.
Thank you. So today I ask you, please join us. Let's build the future of work together. We can only do it together. This is not something that one of us can do. This is not even something that just the TalentLayer team can do. All of this is about working together to build something that's a lot bigger than us. And the reason that we're doing this is because we really do believe that this is like the #1 thing that we can do right now to create more freedom in the world, more ability for people to find the right work, feed their families, all of that stuff. And also just increase innovation by making it easier to hire people. So this is an effort towards human progress, and we would love it if you reached out. So if you're looking to collaborate, contribute open source, invest, etc., please reach out to me at Kristen@talentlayer.org. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Happy to take questions.
Yeah, Kirsten, a question for me actually. You on the one of the partnership slides, I saw that you had a collaboration with Eden Protocol. I wanted to get caught up basically on how you guys decided on a collaborative direction, because yeah, last time we spoke personally, like it was still a bit vague. So I'm curious to hear.
Yeah, for sure. So we've been friends with the Eden team for a long time, and we've been like, Tom, their founder, and I have been brainstorming on collaboration for like 6 months. But both of our protocols were sort of still in development still figuring things out. But when TalentLayer launched, it was also just around the time that Eden had started working with a lot of their major clients to do talent matching using their proprietary AI. And it actually, it came around like that both of us were actually talking to a lot of like the same protocols and teams that we were friends with in the Web3 hiring space. And a lot of them had very similar needs around like having white label job boards, sort of similar to Palette. So the collaboration with Eden protocol is actually, Eden is going to be building an AI powered like sort of alternative to Palette. If you guys aren't familiar with Palette, Palette is basically a way to host your own job board. A lot of Web3 teams and DAOs use Palette. However, Palette is completely Web2, even though they've been, heavily marketing in the Web3 space. So what that means is Palette is grabbing all of your user data, selling it to big tech companies, big data analytics companies, and you also don't own like any of the data that's on there. So even you as a platform, if you wanted to, move off of Palette, like all of your users are trapped inside, like you're sort of locked in. So basically Eden is creating a more decentralized alternative to that has the additional benefit of their awesome AI on top of that. And it's going to be built on TalentLayer. So that's currently in production right now. And we're excited to go live with a few of their big partners like Talent Protocol, Developer DAO, and a number of other major DAOs.
Yeah, so I did actually beta test or alpha test actually the early version of Eden, and like so with their simple front end now, like you can make your profile assign your skills and whatnot. So basically from TalentLayer, a TalentLayer would be able to tap that pool, right, of profiles that are made through Eden.
I mean, yeah, basically. So with the Palette alternative, it would be using TalentLayer as the main rails for like user identity storage. So yeah, like their initial product, that's like sort of the MVP of what they've built. The important part there is the AI that's running on top of the data, and that AI can be run on any data sets. So basically with these decentralized like Palette systems, you'd be able to have their AI read any TalentLayer data. So yeah, and vice versa.
All right, thanks. Any other questions for TalentLayer? Going once, going twice. All right. Thanks, Kirsten and the whole TalentLayer team. I like the teamwork you guys did for the presentation. And so yeah.
Bye.
Last but certainly not the least, let's take a look at the cool new social networking platform and maybe some other stuff about curation and content from the lenstags team. Faye, can do.
Hey everyone, can you hear me? Hey everyone, I'm Faye, and I'm going to talk about what we are building. So lenstags is a Web3 social network, but first of all, I would like to ask you to set us in place. How do you save and manage resources while browsing? So depending on what you use, it can get messy very quickly, and then later on it's a mess and it's a waste of time trying to find what you saved 2 weeks ago, for example. So that's a bit of how lenstags was born, from a necessity or from a need that we and web users have. So when talking about with users, with the communities and between ourselves, we realized that we all shared the same feeling or the same problem. It's hard to keep track with information. It's hard to find good sources. There are scammers everywhere. Social networks are centralized and all the decisions also are centralized. So we are proposing a new way to interact with social media. And our vision and our objective is to be the go-to app to discover and manage community-curated content. So we firmly believe that the users should be able to access a high-quality content, collect and save what's valuable for them, and also share the information or their findings with the community if they like. So to realize this vision, we are building on based on 4 verticals, all of them to provide more value to the user. So our extension will allow users to save content on the go, on the fly. The content will be manageable through lists. For discovery, we use tags. and the curation will be in the hands of the community, most of it. And at our core, we are decentralized, our infrastructure is decentralized. So we are also the resistant to censorship, unlike our Web2 counterparts. And with decentralization comes identity, ownership, and a couple of more of benefits. Being able to own your own data, to monetize it at your will, to have only one profile and not needing to create multiple accounts for every social networks, it's a big plus. And I mentioned the Web2 counterparts. We have competitors in the bookmarking space. I can mention, for example, Raindrop, Pocket, Instapaper, Notion, but they lack the social side. So Lenstags is not only for you, it's for everyone. It's a social network. So for example, you will be able to check Vitalik's profile and see what he's saving for himself. So that's pretty neat. So we are building a social bookmarking solution, decentralized. And where are we now? Right now, we are on Web3 social. The space is growing steadily despite the current market conditions. And we are on Lens protocol. That's one of the most promising Web3 social protocols. We'll position ourselves as one of the most or biggest applications there. But we are targeting and we want to compete with traditional social media because that's where our user base is. We are targeting and our users will be all the web users. So we want to be there, and the Web2 markings are just for comparison purposes, and that's where we are heading. We are on this task. We are being supported right now by Kleros, by Lens, and Clay, and these funds are being used to development of the first versions of the app. And when we reach product market fit, our token or utility token will capture most the value. We will offer subscription plans for our users and projects to access more extra features for at least for users, some customizations when it comes to reading experience, some notes and highlighting, unlimited list. And when it comes to projects, they will have a hub of resources plus analytics page to onboard new users. And we will also charge a small fee for every monetizable transaction that happens on our platform. And this is us. We are Web3 natives. We are community leaders, and we are core members of the biggest community in Latin America. That's why we understand the users and have a user-centric approach. And we also have the know-how. We have the Web3 knowledge and Web3 expertise, the community building, the development career. So we will deliver and ship an applications that stays ahead of the Web3 curve. And to canalize this support we have from the communities, we will engage with them, we will partner with them and to gather feedback and expand, especially in LATAM. But we also have a lot of plans to build a global community, a already growing global community. And we are also in talks with the leading projects that are waiting for us to have their own hub of resources. And for the future, well, we have a lot of milestones. So just to name a few, our private beta and key-free, or the Web2 login to expand ourselves, and also the multi-chain to scale our platform to be above Polygon. And well, that's it for today. Thanks for listening. If you want to join us on this journey or invest in us, send an email to there or scan the QR for our socials. Thank you very much. And I will try to share the demo. I need to sign, connect with MetaMask. So this is what it looks like right now, the feed. You can filter the content by tag. So this is the aspects of the post. If I want to see Web3 info or post, I will filter by Web3 or I don't know, layer 2. And that's basically it. And you can also create content. I have here, if I can, I don't know. Yeah, I have an article here about the Mona Lisa on Nature. That's pretty cool. I can copy this link here just if I want the content, the post will be also completed. I can make a too long didn't read version of it based on the content. It will also load the image, but if I want to, if it doesn't have an image, or if I want to generate a new one, I can generate a new image from the content. For example, that, and you can also select a file like this one to be the cover image, and we will add a tag to it, and we will create a post. Let's wait to create the post. This is all decentralized. This is going to IPFS. Post created successfully, and it will redirect me to the feed. I will filter by art, and here it is, the Mona Lisa. I can, if I want, I can add it to a list, art news, for example, and that's already added. I can enter the post. This is the post to check. No, not much info, and I can go to my profile here to see my post, all the things I collected, or my created list. This is the list that I created before. And if I enter here, here are all the resources that I saved. And that's basically it. I can go back, and that's the end of the demo. And that's it. Thank you very much. I don't know if you have any questions.
I have a question. I see you guys are using lead protocol, I think, in the slides, and I was wondering how.
Yeah, we are encrypting the list. So right now everything is public, but people might not want to show what they are collecting. So that's on the works, but that we already have the code. It's not implemented on the demo, but that's the main implementation, to have privacy there.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, so as with growing any social media, social networking platform, users are at the heart of it. So yeah, I do recall that you had an early alpha and were able to get some user testing done. Could you tell me briefly about some user stories you've encountered, like any like what the users like so far, what they wish there was on the platform, and pretty much anything related to that general user story, if there's anything you could tell me from there?
Yeah, it's just good positive feedback, and also some suggestions and some pain points. We were having difficulties for people to understand the differences between a card and a list. So we need to work there, differentiate them a little bit better. We got a lot of good positive feedback on the filter and the sorting. It's not there, but sorting by most commented or latest or the last week, that was like pretty positive. The card stuff, some suggestions if they would pay for it. We have a Notion with all this info like filtered. I can show you it to you later if you want.
All right, yeah, thanks. Any other questions for TalentLayer? I mean for Lens.
Yeah, I have a question. Could you explain to us what are some of the ways that you have used Kleros to enhance your product?
Yeah, sure. So, well, at first, we want to have a challenging attack misassigned, and we also have a new not safe for work parts and a safe for work parts, and that will need to be curated by the community. So that's our first implementation: the not safe for work and safe for work. And also, well, as I said before, Kleros has a final arbiter of curation. So when challenging something, the dispute resolution will go through Kleros. We have our own guidelines, and if it doesn't comply, a post doesn't comply with that, will go through you. The UI doesn't have a challenge button right now, but that's the integration.
Okay, got it. Thank you. I think there's a question in the chat about how you implemented the.
Let me see. Tags implemented like CC21. It's on the metadata. So the tags are on the metadata of the NFTs on Lens protocol. Nice one. Alice can post the same Web2 stuff with the same tags. Yes, Alice can post the same Web2 stuff with the same tags. Yes, they will have a reference. If it depends on if it's owned by them, if it's legitimate content and they are original posters, or if they are just copying a link and posting, they will have a reference, and the tags are going into the metadata of the NFT, so they are also decentralized. So I don't know if I answered your question. Or yeah.
I have a question as well. Do you expect some other platforms that are building on Lens to consume the information posted on Lens tags, or the tags itself, or other information posted on the platform?
They could make use of our tag system. We are not open source right now, but we are open sourcing because we are just working on it. But yeah, especially the tag part, because we built it from the scratch. It's not quite there on the SDK and the API from Lens. We had to do it by ourselves. And about consuming our content, well, it depends. Yeah, our post will be readable on the Lenster, for example. So it's a social graph, or the posts that are posted on the platform can be seen on Lenster, unless they filter our post by ID. We have the content that is being posted on our platform have an ID, an app ID, lenstags. So if they filter that info, they will not see our posts. It depends on them.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I did have one more question. You mentioned in the dashboard, like for the project dashboard, what type of data would be available in the analytics section? Would that be like clicks on certain posts, or like number of times added to a list, a certain item?
Yeah, exactly that. So I'm looking at this screen, sorry. So the idea is to have our resources is not only official content, like, for example, let's say Optimism post, I don't know, a Medium article. Not only that, but also research or content from curators and people that like Optimism and are verifiable, are curators. So all that content will have degrees of expertise. So they will have like new content, mid-tier or advanced content. So the engagement there, if they collect stuff, which ones, which users do you have? Who are they? Who are the veterans? Who are the new ones? How much people are you onboarding? Especially the new. That's it.
Okay, so it seems like there's no more questions. Yeah, thanks everyone who joined us so far. That actually brings us to the end of this demo day. Thanks for all the teams from the previous cohort who presented. Congratulations to this cohort for graduating. I'll definitely be in touch going forward, and excited to see what everyone builds for the rest of the year and beyond. So yeah, I'm gonna stop the recording now. And thanks again to everyone.